All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 154-pound division, where we have an update on information as it relates to Terence Crawford versus Tysyu, a fight that has been getting more and more conversation since Terence Crawford's team said that they were looking to chase Tysyu, the WBO champion at 154 pounds, instead of fighting Jaron Boots Ennis or Errol Spence Jr. at 147 pounds. Let's talk about what has transpired, specifically with a fighter by the name of Erickson Lubin. Let's do that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we got an update as the fights at 154 pounds are getting more interesting because you have two people who are entering into the discussions at 154 pounds. You have the former undisputed champion, Terence Crawford, from 147 pounds. You also have the former three-belt unified champion, Errol Spence Jr., that is talking about or has spoken about moving to 154. Tysyu, who has emerged on the scene last year when he became a world champion after Jermell Iron Man Charlo was stripped of his WBO belt for moving up to fight at 168 pounds against against Canelo Alvarez, forgive me. And so now you have Tysyu, who has been being chased by Terence Bud Crawford. Now, people said that Tysyu had called out Terence Crawford. I've done my research. I've looked for that, and I cannot find it anywhere. However, I do believe that he said that he was open for the idea when he said in a response to I think it was something maybe by ESPN that said fights that they'd like to see, Terence Crawford versus Tysyu, and he said the fight would be fire. That, my friend, is not a call out, nor is it a tape that was played that he said earlier in the year, right after the Errol Terence Crawford fight, where he said that the fight was that yes, he would fight Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is not invincible. The question is Tysyu in a position to fight Terence Crawford next? He also said that he would drop the WBO belt if he was forced to fight anybody other than Jermell Charlo, because Jermell Charlo has those two belts. But now we have a third little piece of the puzzle that comes out, and that is that he is in negotiations currently to defend his WBO title against Erickson Lubin in March. And this was something that came from Erickson Lubin. If you're not familiar with Erickson Lubin is was a former challenger for the WBC world 154-pound title. He lost to Jermell Charlo. He'd also lost to Sebastian Fundora, but he's coming off of a big win against Jesus. I believe it's Jesus Ramos, not Abel Ramos. Sometimes I mix up the brothers. Jesus Ramos, who was a young, up-and-coming 154-pound contender where Erickson Lubin surprised pretty much everybody by beating him and putting him in this position to fight for a world championship. Now, a report had come out from Australia newspaper that that Erickson Lubin had withdrawn from negotiations from a fight. Erickson Lubin responded to that, and Erickson Lubin's trainer, Kevin Cunningham, both responded to it. Kevin Cunningham said, how could you withdraw from a fight from a negotiation when there's not been an official offer made. And when and Erickson Lubin, for his part, said, what are they talking about? That's cap. I'm waiting on a date. Now, when he says that he's waiting on a date and Stephen and Kevin Cunningham says that they're waiting for the official offer, it sounds to me like they're waiting for the discussions that they've had to be put down on paper so Erickson Lubin can sign and get an opportunity to fight for a world championship. Now, clearly, Tim Tszyu may say, depending on the money that's offered, and it's a much bigger fight for him and a much bigger opportunity to win a major fight against a top guy, he may say, no, I'd rather have Terence Crawford than Erickson Lubin. Now, here's the problem, though. People had said, and Terence Crawford, or at least it had been put out there, the question, who's going to pay for a fight between Jaron Ennis and Terence Crawford? Who's going to pay for that fight, seeing as that these guys do not have a network schedule out? Well, and I have said this before, that same thing applies to every fighter I just named. Erickson Lubin fights for the PBC. Jaron Ennis fights on PBC cards. Tim Tszyu in the United States fights on PBC cards. Terence Crawford does not have a network. Who's going to pay for any of these fights? You're going to have to be in a situation where the network and the PBC and Premier Boxing Champions decide that they want to put these fighters who they have agreements with in the rings with certain people. And one thing that I will definitely agree with on PBC, people that don't like the PBC, as I would with people that don't like Top Rank, don't like Matchroom, don't like Golden Boy, that the economics of boxing say that you have people fight in-house fights. Because just like Bob Arum said about Gervonta Davis, he asked the question, why would I go around looking around for fights for for Gervonta Davis? Why would I run around looking for fights for him? I've got fights that I've got to make for my own fighters. So I'm going to look to make fights for my own fighters. So Jaron Ennis, Tim Tszyu, Erickson Lubin, Errol Spence Jr. are all people that are around PBC and have dealt with the PBC. It looks like Jaron Ennis is more than likely going to keep and stay going that way and just have a manager work with Al Heyman as an advisor to stay on that particular network. But as far as Tim Tszyu, he's still there. Erickson Lubin is there. Why would they not try to make a fight with one another and pay for a fight between two fighters that are signed with them and kill two birds with one stone? That's what I'm leaning towards. And also, I believe there is a very, very good chance that Terence Crawford is playing games. That Terence Crawford is full well that he's going to fight Errol Spence Jr. again and maybe leveraging for more money, working to leverage himself more money or leverage to have the fight at 154. Because as of right now, Terence Crawford has not dropped any of those belts. And maybe the last time that Terence Crawford had was undisputed, he dropped the IBF belt first, but the WBC and the rest of those guys were shortly behind that. Were right behind that. If we don't hear something from him dropping something pretty soon, then suffice it to say that that's probably the deal now. But what Terence Crawford's going to do, I don't know. I don't think it's completely up to him. I have a suspicion, though, that we're going to see Tim Tszyu versus Erickson Lubin, and that we're going to see Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence again, because that's where the money is. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.